My name is Reagan Sutter, and I'm 29 years old. 6 years ago, I signed military enlistment papers instead of college applications, not because I dreamed of serving, but because my parents handed my entire $215,000 share of the college fund to my younger sister. "You'll figure it out," they said. "You always do." That one sentence, tossed off so casually, sent me straight to boot camp while Delaney moved into her private university dorm. I spent 6 years serving my country to earn what she was simply handed. I worked night shifts, paid off loans $1 at a time, and built an entire life without a cent of their help. Meanwhile, they proudly posted about every one of Delaney's achievements and never once mentioned me. But at her MBA graduation party, in front of 140 guests, my 82-year-old grandmother stood up and said 5 words that changed absolutely everything. "I'm pressing charges against you." Before I tell you what happened next, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with this, and drop a comment with where you're watching from and your local time. I read every single one. Here's how a $430,000 betrayal unraveled in the most public way imaginable. The favoritism didn't start with the college fund. It started when I was 12 and Delaney was 9. I remember bringing home my report card, straight A's as usual. My mom glanced at it while folding laundry. "Good job, we knew you could do it." That was it. 7 words, no celebration. The following week, Delaney got a B+ in math. My parents took her to her favorite restaurant and spent the entire dinner praising her effort. "We're so proud of you for working hard," my dad said, ruffling her hair. I sat there pushing pasta around my plate, confused. What had I done wrong? By the time I turned 16, I'd figured out the pattern. Being capable meant being invisible. Delaney struggled with homework, so my parents hired tutors. I taught myself. Delaney needed help with college applications, so they paid a consultant. I researched scholarships alone at the library. On my 16th birthday, my parents sat me down for the talk, not about driving privileges, about responsibility and the importance of saving money. Delaney got a car for her 16th birthday 2 years later. A used sedan, but still a car. "Delaney needs more support," my mom explained once when I asked why the rules felt so different. "You're so mature for your age, you understand, right?" I did understand. I understood that needing help got you help, and being strong got you forgotten. My Aunt Robin, my dad's older sister, never hid her opinions. "Gregory, you're taking advantage of Reagan's independence," she told him once at Thanksgiving. "That girl is drowning, and you can't even see it because she's too proud to ask for a life raft." My dad just shrugged. "Reagan's fine, she always is." I learned early that being strong meant being invisible. I just didn't know yet how expensive that invisibility would become. I was 18, 3 months from high school graduation when everything changed. I'd been accepted to the state university with a partial scholarship, enough to cover tuition, but not room and board or books. I needed the college fund my grandparents had set up. I'd known about it my whole life. "Your grandpa and grandma want to make sure both you girls can go to college," my dad had always said. I sat down at the kitchen table with my parents, acceptance letter in hand, ready to talk logistics. My mom and dad exchanged a look, the kind that makes your stomach drop before anyone speaks. "We need to talk about the fund," my mom started, not meeting my eyes. "Okay," I said slowly. "Delaney's going to need more support," my dad said. "Her grades aren't as strong as yours. She'll need the full amount to have the same opportunities." The words didn't make sense at first, the full amount, but Grandma set it up for both of us. "It's still family money," my mom said, her tone sharpening. "We're making the best decision for the family as a whole. But it's my money too." "Your grandfather would want us to do what's right," my dad interrupted. "You got the scholarship. You're resourceful. Delaney needs this more than you do." I stared at them. "So I get nothing." "You'll figure it out," my mom said, already standing to signal the conversation was over. "You always do." Those 5 words echoed in my head all night. I didn't argue. I couldn't find the words. I just walked to my room, closed the door, and Googled military education benefits. 3 months later, I was at basic training. Delaney was posting Instagram photos from her private university orientation, captioned, "So blessed to have parents who believe in me." Nobody mentioned that belief cost $430,000. While Delaney was picking out dorm decorations, I was learning to disassemble a rifle in under a minute. The contrast wasn't lost on me. Every time I checked social media, which wasn't often, given our limited phone access during training, I saw snapshots of the life I'd been denied. Delaney at sorority rush, Delaney studying abroad in Barcelona. Delaney at formal dinners with her new college friends. My parents' Facebook became a shrine to her achievements. So proud of our college girl, accompanied every post. I sent updates too. A photo completing an obstacle course, a message about finishing my first month of training. I got back short responses, sometimes days later. Good job, stay safe. Once, no response at all. My Aunt Robin was different. She texted regularly, asked real questions, remembered details about my unit. Your grandmother asks about you constantly, she wrote once. She seems worried more than usual. That struck me as odd. Grandma had been quiet since I'd joined. I'd assumed she was disappointed in my choice. I called her once from base in one of my rare moments of free time. Grandma, it's Reagan, just wanted to check in. A long pause. Are you all right, sweetheart, really? I'm fine. It's hard, but I'm managing. Another pause. Your grandfather would be proud of your strength, but Reagan's strength shouldn't mean struggle. Do you understand what I'm saying? I didn't, not really. I think so. Good, remember that. Her voice had an edge I didn't recognize. And remember, some things aren't what they seem, including family decisions. The call ended with me more confused than before. 6 years later, I came home. My discharge papers were signed, my duffel bag packed, and I had exactly 4 months of savings to figure out civilian life. I'd used my military benefits to finish my bachelor's degree online, at the same state school I'd originally planned for, but without any of the college experience Delaney had enjoyed. The first family dinner back was supposed to be a homecoming. It felt more like a stranger crashing someone else's reunion. Delaney's applying to MBA programs, my mom announced before we'd even finished the appetizers. She's looking at the top schools, Harvard, Stanford, Wharton. That's great, I said, trying to sound enthusiastic. For the next 30 minutes, I listened to a detailed breakdown of Delaney's professional aspirations, her GMAT score, her recommenders. When there was finally a lull, I mentioned I'd been looking into project management jobs in logistics. My dad nodded vaguely. The military must have been quite an experience, my mom said, in a tone that suggested she wanted to close that chapter quickly. At least you got that out of your system. Now you can settle down. Delaney looked me up and down. You look so different. Military really changed you. 6 years tends to do that, I said quietly. Nobody asked about deployment. Nobody asked about the challenges of transitioning back. Nobody asked if I was okay. Over dessert, I noticed the new furniture in the living room. Later, walking to my old bedroom, I saw the renovated bathroom. In the driveway sat a new car, Delaney's graduation gift from the previous spring. They'd had money for all of that, just not for a single care package in 6 years. That night, lying in my childhood bed, I realized I'd been gone 6 years and nobody had actually missed me. I found the Veterans Support Group 3 weeks after coming home, mostly because I didn't know where else to go. That's where I met Marcus Riley. He was 30, had served 8 years, and had the same slightly lost look I saw in the mirror every morning. First meeting, he asked, sitting down beside me with coffee. That obvious? You're sitting on the edge of your chair like you might need to escape. I did the same thing my first time. He smiled. It gets easier, or at least different. We started talking after meetings, then getting coffee between them. Marcus understood things I didn't have to explain, the weird guilt of being home. The disconnect from people who'd never served, the way civilian concerns felt both trivial and impossibly complex. One evening, 6 weeks after we'd met, he asked why I'd joined the military. I'd never told anyone the full story, but with Marcus, it spilled out: the college fund, my parents' casual dismissal, 6 years watching my sister live the life that should have been at least partly mine. Marcus listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet a moment. Can I ask you something? Sure. Did your grandmother actually agree to give all the money to your sister? I blinked. My parents said it was a family decision. That's not what I asked. The question hung in the air. I realized I'd never actually confirmed it with my grandmother. I'd just accepted my parents' version of events. People who say you're so strong a lot, Marcus continued, they're usually using it as an excuse to not support you. Strength doesn't mean you don't deserve help. It just means you've learned to survive without it. Nobody had ever said that to me before. I drove home that night thinking about my grandmother's cryptic phone call years ago. Some things aren't what they seem. Maybe it was time to ask some questions. The text arrived in the family group chat on a Tuesday morning. Delaney, big news. I got accepted to Northwestern's MBA program. My mom responded instantly. So proud. We'll call you tonight to celebrate. My dad, that's our girl, of course will help with tuition. I stared at my phone, of course they'd help. They always helped Delaney. Congrats, Delaney, that's a big achievement. I meant it was a good program. But then the follow-up messages came. My mom, we'll need to discuss the financial details. The program is $130,000 for 2 years, but it's such an investment in Delaney's future. My dad, exactly. MBA opens doors. Worth every penny. Something snapped. Me, where's that money coming from? I'm still paying off my own loans. The typing bubbles appeared and disappeared several times. My dad, your military benefits covered your degree. Delaney's education requires different support. This is an investment. Me, my benefits covered a state school. Delaney got private university and now an MBA, both from what should have been our fund. My mom, here we go again. When will you stop being bitter? We did what we thought was best. Delaney, seriously, Reagan, you're ruining my moment. This is exactly why Mom and Dad focus on me. I don't make everything about drama. I read that 3 times, something cold settling in my chest. Me, enjoy your program, Delaney. I didn't type the rest of what I was thinking. Instead, I scrolled through my contacts and found the number I'd been avoiding for months. Aunt Robin answered on the second ring. I need Grandma Vivian's number, I said. And I need to know exactly how that college fund was set up. A long pause. It's about time, Aunt Robin said. I'll text you both right now. I called my grandmother that evening, hands shaking slightly as I dialed. She answered on the first ring. Reagan, I wondered when you'd call. Grandma, I need to ask you something about the college fund. I've been waiting for this conversation for 10 years. Her voice was steady, almost relieved. Go ahead, sweetheart. Mom and Dad said the fund was family money, that you agreed to give it all to Delaney because she needed it more. Silence stretched between us. They told you I agreed. Her voice had gone flat and hard. Yes, they said it was a family decision. That's a lie. The words were sharp, precise. Your grandfather and I established that trust with explicit instructions. $215,000 for each grandchild, distributed at age 18 for educational purposes, non-negotiable. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. But they said, I know what they said, and I didn't interfere because I hoped they'd do the right thing eventually, that they'd see what they were doing to you and correct it. She paused. I was wrong to wait. I should have acted years ago. Grandma, are you saying they just took my money? I'm saying your father, as trustee, violated the terms of the trust, and I've already contacted Charles Ashby, your grandfather's attorney. He's been investigating. My mind raced. Investigating what? Everything. Bank records, withdrawal patterns, documentation. Reagan, she said, what your parents did wasn't just unfair parenting, it was misappropriation of trust funds, it's illegal. I sat down hard on my couch. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because you needed to be ready to stand up for yourself. You needed to reach the point where you'd question what they told you. Her voice softened. Are you ready now? I thought about Marcus's words, about Delaney's text, about 6 years of being invisible. Yes, I said. I'm ready. Charles Ashby's email arrived at 11 p.m. that same night. Subject line, Sutter Family Trust, confidential documents. I opened it with my laptop balanced on my knees, Marcus sitting beside me for moral support. The first attachment was the original trust document, dated 2 years before I was born. The language was clear, almost painfully so. Upon each grandchild reaching the age of 18, the sum of $215,000 shall be distributed for educational purposes, including but not limited to tuition, housing, books, and related expenses. Distribution shall be equal between beneficiaries. Equal. The word was underlined in Charles's notes. The second attachment showed the withdrawal history. Starting the month I turned 18, money had been transferred out of the trust, all of it to accounts in Delaney's name or directly to her university. $430,000. 6 years of transfers. Not a single penny to me. The third attachment made my stomach drop. It was an amendment to the trust, dated 3 months after I'd turned 18, supposedly signed by my grandmother. It authorized flexible distribution at trustees' discretion. Charles's note beneath it read, Signature analysis completed. This is a forgery. Your grandmother's actual signature from the same time period is attached for comparison. Notice the different pressure patterns and loop formations. I zoomed in on the signatures. Even to my untrained eye, the differences were obvious. Your father forged your grandmother's signature, Marcus said quietly, reading over my shoulder. That's fraud, I whispered. The final paragraph from Charles laid it out in stark legal terms. Embezzlement, breach of fiduciary duty, forgery, multiple felonies. My phone buzzed, a text from Charles. The question isn't whether you have a case, it's whether you want to pursue it. This is your decision, Reagan, but know that your grandmother and I are prepared to move forward. I looked at Marcus. He squeezed my hand. They didn't just choose Delaney over you, he said. They committed crimes to do it. I drove to my parents' house the next morning, the documents printed and folded in my bag. My dad answered the door in his weekend clothes, coffee mug in hand. His smile faded when he saw my expression. Reagan, what's wrong? I walked past him into the kitchen and set the papers on the counter. Explain this. He picked up the first page. His face went pale. Where did you get these? Grandma's attorney. You forged her signature. You stole my share. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. 215,000 for me, 215,000 for Delaney. You took it all. My mom appeared in the doorway. What's going on? I didn't take my eyes off my dad. He committed fraud against his own daughter. Your father did what he had to, my mom snapped. Delaney wouldn't have made it without full support. Then you should have asked Grandma to change the trust legally, not steal. We'll pay you back, my dad said quickly. Just don't make this public. Think about Delaney's career. Something in me turned cold. I thought about my own career for 6 years in uniform. I thought about it every time I worked a night shift to pay off loans that shouldn't have existed. Now you think about consequences. I picked up the documents and walked toward the door. Reagan, please, my dad called after me. She's graduating from her MBA next month. Don't ruin her party. I stopped in the doorway, looked back at him. I'm not ruining anything. The truth will do that all by itself. His face crumpled. She's your sister. And I'm your daughter. You just never acted like it. I left before he could respond, his coffee mug still frozen halfway to his mouth. I need to pause here for a second because this moment was huge for me. For years, I thought I was wrong for feeling hurt. But seeing those documents, knowing they didn't just overlook me, they actively stole from me, that changed everything. If this story resonates with you, hit that like button. And I want to know, have you ever discovered a family secret that changed how you saw everything? Drop your story in the comments. Sometimes just knowing we're not alone makes all the difference. Okay, back to what happened at Delaney's MBA graduation party. 3 weeks before Delaney's graduation party, my parents started texting again. Please come to Delaney's party. Let's put this behind us. We're family. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I called my grandmother. They want me at the party, I told her. Of course they do. They want to control the narrative. Will you go? I'd been thinking about this. Yes, but not to forgive, to witness. There was a pause, then something that sounded like satisfaction in her voice. Good, I'll be there too, with Charles. Grandma, what are you planning? Nothing you need to worry about, just be present. Let the truth speak when it's ready. Marcus was less cryptic when I told him my plan. Are you sure you want to do this? Public confrontation is intense. I'm not confronting anyone, I said. I'm just showing up. Whatever happens, happens. You're showing up to your sister's party after discovering your parents committed fraud. Something's going to happen. He wasn't wrong, but I had no intention of making a scene myself. I'd learned something important in the military. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stand at attention and let other people's actions speak for themselves. I need to see this through, I said. Marcus nodded slowly. Then I'm your ride home. Whatever happens, you're not alone. Country Club Ballroom was exactly the kind of venue my parents would choose, elegant, expensive, impressive. I arrived with Marcus to find the room already filled with at least 140 guests. Delaney's MBA cohort in business casual, professors from Northwestern, extended family I hadn't seen in years. Banners hung from the ceiling. Congratulations, Delaney. A table displayed photos of her college journey, sorority events, study abroad, graduation. Not a single photo of me in uniform. My mom spotted me immediately and hurried over, smile tight. You came. Thank you. Please just smile and be happy for your sister today. I'm here, I said. That was all I'd promised. Delaney appeared in a navy dress, polished and professional. She saw me, her expression flickering with something, anxiety, maybe irritation. Glad you could make it. Try not to make it awkward. My dad hovered near the bar, watching me with nervous eyes, glancing toward the door every few minutes like he was expecting someone. Then my grandmother arrived. Burgundy dress, pearl necklace, an expression of absolute calm. Beside her, a well-dressed man in his 60s carrying a leather briefcase. That's Charles Ashby, I told Marcus quietly. My Aunt Robin appeared at my elbow. Your grandma looks like she's on a mission. She usually is. My grandmother caught my eye across the room and gave a small, deliberate nod. Whatever was about to happen had already been set in motion. My dad tapped a microphone at the front of the room. "Can I have everyone's attention?" The conversations quieted. "I want to take a moment to talk about what this day means," he began, voice warm and proud. "Marlene and I have sacrificed everything for this moment. We made tough choices as parents. We prioritized wisely. We invested in Delaney's future with everything we had." The room murmured approvingly. "Not every parent would go this far," he continued. "But we believed in Delaney's potential from the beginning. We saw something special and we did whatever it took to nurture it." He raised his glass. "So let's toast to Delaney, to her achievements, her future, and to parents who believed in investing in excellence." "Here, here," someone called out. I sat perfectly still, watching my father frame theft as wisdom and fraud as sacrifice. That's when my grandmother stood up. The room went quiet again, but this time the silence felt different. "Before we toast," my grandmother said, her voice clear and calm, "I'd like to say something." My dad's smile froze. "Mom, this isn't the time." "Oh, I think it is, Gregory. You just gave a lovely speech about sacrifices and investments." She walked slowly toward the front, Charles Ashby following with his briefcase. "Let's talk about what was actually sacrificed." Conversation stopped completely. "Grandma, what is this?" Delaney asked, her voice thin. My grandmother looked at her, and for a moment her expression softened. "The truth about your education fund, sweetheart." She turned back to the room. "That fund Gregory just mentioned. My late husband and I created it 28 years ago, $430,000. 215 for Reagan, 215 for Delaney." She held up a document. "Equal distribution, non-negotiable, those were the terms." The room was absolutely silent. My grandmother pointed at me. I hadn't moved, hadn't changed expression. "Reagan got zero. She joined the military to afford college with no help from the fund that was legally hers." Delaney's face went white. "Dad said it was family money and you agreed to." "I never agreed." My grandmother's voice cut through like a blade. "Your father forged my signature." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Charles Ashby stepped forward, his attorney's voice trained to carry. "The documents you're holding show 6 years of withdrawals from the Sutter Family Trust. All $430,000 went to Delaney's education. That's embezzlement." "Mom, please, we can discuss this privately," my dad started. "You had 10 years to discuss it privately," my grandmother said. "You chose to double down instead, so now I'm pressing charges." The words hung in the air like a detonation. Delaney stood up, her chair scraping loudly. "No, this can't be right, Dad." My dad's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. One of Delaney's professors, an older woman with gray hair, approached her. "Delaney, is this true? Your educational funding came from misappropriated trust funds." "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." Delaney's voice cracked. "This is extremely serious," the professor said gravely. "The school's ethics board will need to be notified." Another professor was reading the documents with increasing alarm. "These bank statements show explicit trust violations. This isn't a family dispute. This is fraud." My mom shot to her feet. "This is ridiculous. You're all overreacting." But people were looking at my parents differently now. Whispers spread like wildfire. "He forged his own mother's signature. $430,000. That poor girl served in the military while—" Delaney turned to me, mascara starting to run. "Reagan, you did this. You ruined my day." I met her eyes, my voice steady and quiet. "I didn't do anything. The truth did." "But there's more," my grandmother said, and the room went silent again. Charles pulled out another document. "During our investigation, we found additional irregularities." My dad made a sound like he'd been punched. Charles continued, clinical. "Gregory's late father's first wife also established an educational trust, $55,000 for each grandchild." He paused. "That money also went entirely to Delaney. Different account, same pattern of misappropriation." My Aunt Robin stood up. "Gregory, you didn't just steal from your daughters, you stole from your own father's legacy." My grandmother's eyes welled up for the first time. "My husband worked himself to death building a business so these girls would have opportunities. He made me promise both granddaughters would get equal support." She looked at my dad. "You dishonored his memory. You violated his final wishes. And you did it while standing at his funeral telling me you'd take care of everything." That's when my dad completely broke down, not from shame at being caught, but from the weight of what he'd actually done. "I'm sorry," he gasped between sobs. "I'm so sorry." I thought I was helping, but nobody wanted to hear what he'd thought anymore. The country club manager appeared at my mother's elbow. "Mrs. Sutter, I need you to settle the bill now. We can't extend credit under these circumstances. Around the room, social consequences rippled outward. My uncle stood and walked to where my dad sat crying. Gregory, remember 2 years ago when I lent you $15,000 for that emergency? Was that a lie too? My dad couldn't answer. Extended family members gathered their bags, making quiet excuses to leave. One of my parents' neighbors stopped by their table. Marlene, I think it's best if you don't come to book club anymore. Delaney returned from a conversation with her firm's supervisor, face blotchy and tear-stained. She walked straight past our parents and came to where I sat with Marcus. My offer's been rescinded, she said, hollow. Ethical concerns regarding funding sources. I didn't know what to say. Marcus squeezed my hand under the table. My Aunt Robin came and sat beside me. I'm so sorry, Reagan. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't realize the extent. It's not your fault. Across the room, my grandmother sat with Charles, both looking grimly satisfied but not happy. This wasn't victory. It was necessary devastation. An hour later, after most guests had left, a small group gathered in a side room, my grandmother, Charles, Marcus, and me. My parents had been asked to leave by the country club staff. Charles laid out papers with practiced efficiency. Here's where things stand legally. Criminal side, embezzlement, forgery, and fraud. I filed a report with the district attorney. They'll decide whether to prosecute. I felt my stomach tighten. Civil side, Reagan, you can sue for full restitution plus damages. Given the documented evidence, you'd win. What happens to my parents? I asked. For first-time offenders, likely probation and a restitution order. If the DA pushes hard, possible jail time, 6 months to 2 years. My grandmother leaned forward. And Delaney's degree. The university may investigate the funding sources, but the degree itself remains valid. She completed the academic work. However, her reputation is damaged. That's a consequence, not a legal penalty. I don't want Delaney punished, I said. She didn't know. I want what was stolen from me, and I want them to understand they can't do this. My grandmother nodded. That's exactly the right approach. My parents were waiting in the parking lot when we emerged. My dad's eyes were red and swollen. My mom looked furious. You've destroyed this family. Are you happy now? I didn't destroy anything, I said evenly. You did 10 years ago. My dad stepped forward. What do you want from us? I want my $265,000 with interest, and I want you to understand what you did. We don't have that kind of money, my mom said. Then you'll need a payment plan. Charles will arrange it. We're still your parents. I looked at him for a long moment, all the years of feeling invisible, all the casual dismissals. And I'm still your daughter, I said quietly. The one you stole from, the one you dismissed, the one you forgot about every time it was convenient. I took a breath. I loved you, I trusted you, and you chose to hurt me to help Delaney. That's not parenting, that's betrayal. Don't contact me when you're ready to make real amends, not just sorry you got caught. We can talk, but not before. My mom's face twisted. After everything we've done for you, you did nothing for me, I said. That's the whole point. Marcus opened the car door for me. I got in without looking back. My dad called after us, we love you. I didn't respond. Love wasn't just words. It was actions, and their actions had spoken clearly for a decade. This moment, walking away from them, was the hardest and most necessary thing I've ever done. If you've ever had to set boundaries with family, you know how much it hurts. But you also know it's sometimes the only way to protect yourself. Drop a comment if you understand that painful necessity, and if you're finding value in this story, please subscribe. There's more I need to share about what happened after. 2 weeks after the party, my Aunt Robin forwarded me an email thread. Delaney's consulting firm offer had been formally rescinded. Corporate polite, but clear. While Ms. Sutter was not personally responsible for the misappropriation of funds, the circumstances create reputational risk we cannot accept at this time. I sat staring at the screen, something complicated twisting in my chest. Marcus found me on the couch. What's wrong? Delaney's firm rescinded their offer. She's applying to other places, but everyone's saying no. How do you feel about that? I thought about it. Sad, she's still my sister. She worked hard for that MBA. You're allowed to feel multiple things at once. I know, I just don't want her to suffer. I wanted accountability, not destruction. Those aren't always separable. Actions have consequences. She benefited from fraud, even unknowingly. I know. I keep thinking about something my grandmother said, about how letting truth speak isn't the same as seeking revenge. It's not. You didn't call those firms. You didn't tell them to reject her. That's them making their own ethical decisions. He was right, but it still hurt to watch. 3 months later, I stood in a courthouse conference room while Charles reviewed the settlement documents. My dad had pleaded guilty to reduced charges, embezzlement, and breach of fiduciary duty. In exchange for cooperation and full restitution, the DA had dropped the forgery charges and recommended probation instead of jail time. The terms, $265,000 plus accumulated interest, approximately $295,000 total. A payment plan, 10 years at $2,950 per month, 2 years of probation, mandatory family financial counseling, permanent removal as trustee from any future family trusts. Charles pointed to the last clause. This means he can never hold a position of financial trust in the family again. I signed my name at the bottom. My dad had to refinance their house for the down payment, liquidate part of his retirement account. My mom had to find full-time work. The first payment arrived in my account 3 weeks later. I transferred it immediately to an investment account. Didn't touch it for living expenses. This money represented stolen time, stolen opportunities, stolen peace of mind. What are you going to do with it? Marcus asked, watching me set up automatic deposits. Rebuild the future they stole, I said. Pay off my loans, eventually buy a place, maybe start a veterans mentorship program. 6 months after the party, Delaney texted me. Can we talk? I understand if you say no. I waited 2 days before responding. Coffee, public place, Saturday at 2. She arrived early, already sitting at a corner table. She looked different, hair pulled back simply, minimal makeup, jeans instead of designer clothes. Thanks for meeting me. I'm listening. She took a breath. I'm not here to make excuses. I need to say I'm sorry. I got a job, smaller consulting firm, not the prestigious one, but honest work. I've been in therapy. I'm starting to understand how much I took for granted. Go on. I knew Mom and Dad favored me. I knew they treated you differently, and I told myself it was because I needed more help, because you were naturally stronger. She met my eyes. I was wrong. That was me justifying taking what wasn't fully mine. You didn't know about the fraud, I said. No, but I didn't ask questions either. I didn't want to know if something was wrong because then I'd have to face it. She slid a piece of paper across the table, a payment plan, $550 a month from her salary. Court didn't order this, but it's right. Half that money should have been yours, so I'm giving you half of what I got. I looked at the paper, then at my sister. She looked older, worn down by consequences, but maybe more real than I'd ever seen her. I'm not asking you to forgive me, she said quietly. I'm asking for a chance to be better, eventually. I folded the paper carefully. I appreciate this, but things won't go back to how they were. I know. First Thanksgiving after everything, I spent at Marcus's family home. His mother welcomed me like I'd always belonged there. It was warm and loud, and nobody had decades of resentment brewing under the surface. My phone buzzed during dessert. A text from my mom. You're really not coming, it's Thanksgiving. I typed back. I said I needed space, I meant it. That evening, my dad sent a separate email, different from my mom's texts. Reagan, I know I have no right to ask for your time or attention. My therapist says I need to be specific about what I'm apologizing for, not just say sorry and expect forgiveness. I stole from you. I forged documents. I lied to your face and to my own mother. I prioritized one daughter over another and told myself it was justified. I let you believe you weren't worth supporting. Every one of these things was wrong. I caused you real harm, financial, emotional, and relational. I can't undo it. I can only work to become someone different, someone you might eventually trust again. Even if you never want a close relationship, I understand if you need years of distance. You deserve that boundary. I just wanted you to know I see what I did now, all of it. I read it 3 times. Thank you for this, I wrote back. It's a start, but rebuilding trust takes time. With the restitution payments coming in steadily, I made decisions about my future for the first time without financial desperation driving them. First, I paid off all my student loans, $26,000 gone in one payment. Second, I put a down payment on a small condo. Nothing fancy, but mine. Third, and this one surprised even me, I started planning something bigger. I want to create a mentorship program, I told Marcus one evening, for veterans transitioning to civilian careers. Help them navigate the things I had to figure out alone. 3 months later, I filed the paperwork for the Walter Sutter Veterans Initiative, named after my grandfather. The first meeting had 12 veterans. We talked about resume building, networking, dealing with the disconnect between military and civilian culture. One woman started crying when we discussed feeling invisible after service. That's exactly how I felt, she said, like I'd done something important and nobody cared. I know, I said. I've been there. My grandmother came to the second meeting, sitting quietly in the corner. When it ended, she squeezed my hand. Your grandfather would be so proud. I learned from both of you, I said, how to stand up for what's right. You learned it yourself, she corrected gently. We just reminded you. 18 months after my grandmother stood up at that MBA party, I can finally see the whole picture clearly. I wasted years being strong when what I actually needed was to be honest about being hurt. I thought keeping peace meant staying silent. It doesn't. It just means letting injustice continue while calling it love. The hardest lesson has been this. People who love you can still hurt you deeply, maybe especially the people who love you because you trust them not to. And that's when boundaries matter most. Not to punish, but to protect yourself while healing happens. I didn't ruin Delaney's party. The truth did. I just stopped hiding it. My relationship with my dad is slowly improving. We have dinner once a month, clear boundaries in place. He's doing the real work, not just apologizing to make me comfortable. My mom is different. She's still angry that I made this public. She hasn't fully accepted responsibility. So our relationship remains strained, and I'm okay with that. I can't force her to change. Delaney and I talk every few weeks now. She's engaged to someone from her firm, building a life that's genuinely hers. We're not close like some sisters, but we're honest. Sometimes that's better. My grandmother is my rock. She taught me that dignity doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. It means refusing to accept it with grace. I don't regret pressing charges. I regret that it was necessary. But if the choice is between family peace and self-respect, I choose respect every time because I learned something crucial. You can't have real peace without respect anyway. You just have people pretending everything's fine while wounds fester underneath. The Walter Sutter Veterans Initiative is expanding. We're helping 50 veterans this year. The money that was stolen is now creating opportunities for people who, like me, served their country and needed support coming home. Some people will call you bitter for not accepting crumbs from the table. Let them. You know the full meal you deserved. Thank you for staying with me through this story. It took courage to share, but if it helps even one person understand they don't have to accept mistreatment, even from family, then it was worth it. What's your take? Was I wrong to press charges? Too harsh? Let me know in the comments. And if you have your own story of standing up to family and justice, I'd love to hear it. Remember, you're allowed to protect yourself, even from people you love. Welcome to Velmora Tales, where every story explores the messy, complicated, unforgettable side of family. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next story.